Hey everyone, it's me, Dr. Hikaru. Fiona Jane, aka Dr. Hikaru, and that was Saya debating if she was going to stay in my lap or move on to someplace more interesting. So I guess she decided someplace more interesting. I miscounted last time. This is actually my 8th segment on my blog on endometriosis, and to support the cause, I'm sporting on yellow eyeshadow. It's Chrome Yellow by MAC Cosmetics. So if you're on my Instagram, you would have already seen the self-reflective portraits that are going on there. So I'm a little scatterbrained today. So let's go backwards a little in time. The last vlog I did was the one on the emotional and mental anguish you go through when you have something like endometriosis. And I wanted to say that I'm really, really humbled to hear that these videos I've been making have actually gotten others, my fellow endo sisters, to talk about their condition and find hope. I've been getting hit on my Tumblr, my Facebook page, and my Instagram with a lot of people who support the cause and who are just happy that someone's speaking. I just wanted to say, when you guys say that to me, it means a lot. As I mentioned in my other videos, I was just kind of doing this for myself, so it's waterworks. It's really something to hear that we are able to connect through the internet, and we're able to reach out to each other on those days that just feel like you're by yourself, because it really feels like that when you are cycling through and trying to process things, or sitting there in pain doubled over. This is my second week back to work, and it was my hardest week back to work because this is my first period after my surgery. Now, my other endo sisters have told me, for those who ended up having a period after their lap, it was a really bad one, and they weren't kidding. So for the record, I'm on orthocycline for my birth control, and I've only been on that since my surgery. They switched my birth control earlier this year when I was first complaining of pains, and I think that might have saved me for a few months. So I went from orthotricycline, the multicolored pills, to orthocycline, where there are just 2 colors, my normal dosage every day, and then my placebo. So I wanted to use this segment to talk about what my doctor said to me before she released me to go back to work. I think it's very important. For those of you in the know, November 8th, I had my surgery. I was in a 2-week recovery period. I met with my doctor on November 26th, and for my follow-up, my post-operation consultation. And it was pretty emotional for me when I went in to talk to her. At this point, I was, on some days, I wasn't taking any pain medicine. No Aleve, no nothing, but I was also taking the time to rest my body and not do a lot. My first week back was a little hard for me. I was experiencing pain. I was really fatigued because of that. But back to what I was saying about what my doctor said. When I first came in and I met with the nurse, she was talking to me about, how my procedure went, and she said there was no signs of endometriosis. And I kind of sat there and I went, excuse me? It freaked me out. So lesson number 1, when you're talking to your doctor or nurse, make sure you get the entire story, not just the snippet she was doing when she was flipping through, because I almost shit in my pants. Sorry, language. But it was really one of those, what the hell have I been struggling for? So I just kind of kept my cool. I actually took notes on what my doctor said in my work notebook so I could remember everything. So we'll start from the beginning. The first thing she told me was, when she went in, she did remove some adhesions from me. As I mentioned before, I have the photos of when she was in me. And she said, the good news is, if we focus on your anatomy, you can have kids. As far as I'm concerned, at least your ovaries and your uterus, and nothing is scarred. I was really lucky. She said, the anatomy is beautiful. which I literally probably started crying at that time, because to hear that I can have kids as long as I'm careful was exciting. I know some of my endo sisters are not as fortunate. Either they catch it later in stages, or the endo wreaked havoc on the crucial parts of their anatomy. So for me, most of it was in between. I had a band of scar tissue that was in between my colon and my uterus, and I guess there was other smaller pieces removed around that area as well. So she said the pills have been helping and keeping it in check. So while she didn't find any new signs of endometriosis, that's what the nurse was trying to tell me. There were no new signs that I had recent growth. The adhesion she had removed showed that I had actually had it pretty bad, and she said it was tightly wound up in there. So my body seems to have been fighting it pretty well, and she thinks that's because we switched my birth control and that it's giving my body what it needs. However, that doesn't explain the pain I've been in. Hopefully the removal of the adhesion would lead to me feeling some comfort and less pain. She wanted to know if I had more bladder pain, and I told her it's not there. So for those of you who are going into your lap, the reason why she asked this question is endometriosis is really tricky, it's really weird, and it also can show up and manifest in other ways. One thing that we've seen that it can get confused with is PCOS, and also a bladder condition. So if you have your lap, ladies, and you're talking about pain and they don't find scar tissue or anything, they're probably going to want to ask to look at your bladder and see, have you monitored, does it hurt when you use the restroom all the time? During that time of the month, how does your bladder, because bladder pain can also be confused with the normal pain that you can have in endometriosis. So she said that my adhesion she removed was kind of tight. In the past I had pretty active endo, but nothing active right now. It seems my body's doing a good job of obliterating it. She asked me if I wanted to switch my birth control, and I told her that, I was looking at Depo-Provera, the shot that I think I take once every 3 months, and she was saying that that would be a good idea. So back to the bladder pain. If you also have bowel pain, which I don't really have aside from, peeing or going to the bathroom when it just really hurts on my time of the month, the bowel pain could be an indication of irritable bowel syndrome, I think is what IBS stands for. The acronym is IBS. Talk to your doctor about that if you're experiencing some pains there. She wanted to go backwards and talk about my periods because I hadn't had one yet, because I'm on it this week, and I'll talk about that in a second. And she asked how are my periods before my surgery, and I said, as you know, they sucked. Before I had this condition, before anything was really wrong with me, I never had anything notable weird with my periods like other women who've been complaining about it most of their life. I never really had any PMS syndromes. It was just suddenly in the last 6 months of my life I've been in a lot of pain. Well, if you count March, April when I first felt it, and then when my body apparently fought it, it's about maybe a total of 6. I told her the last 2 months were pretty fluky, painful, and I was super tired. More pain. She asked me if I was peeing more, and I said, if I was, it was probably because I was drinking more fluids and on diuretics like tea. I did tell her that I'd been kind of charting how I felt through my recovery, and I said in my last video that I talked about possible depression, and I had talked about that with her. So I've noticed that these last 2 weeks, not so much my first week back, but the second week when I was on my period, I was super moody. I was crying a lot more than my week back to work, and I was also finding I got anxiety at work, which was really weird for me, and very foreign to a lot of my office mates who've never, when you work at a place for 2 years and you're in a high stress environment and you've never shown any manifestation of this, they think that when I had my surgery I'm cured. Let me remind you, endometriosis has no cure. And that's really hard for people to take. It's really hard for people who've never seen you in this type of pain, or you get really good at hiding it, especially like me when I'm in the workplace. I don't want endometriosis to be my crutch, but I can't live in denial land, and I have to take ownership and acknowledge that, yeah, this period week I was all over the place. unmotivated, depressed, anxious, spending a lot of time crying, pretty clingy and needy, I would guess too, and just wanted not to be around people who couldn't see what I needed them to see, and that was see that I was struggling. Waterworks. Ooh, I told you this one. I'm kind of all over the place. I've been really good about not crying in my videos, but I also wanted to be true and show you this is what we go through. You do hit that moment, and yeah, I did my makeup, which means it's waterproof. That still doesn't mean I want to mess it up. So I talked to her about I'm afraid I could be slipping into depression or anxiety, and she was looking at the fact that I was dealing with the body trauma of surgery, and I had a lot of time to think about what the surgery could mean, and just a lot of downtime, which I'm not used to. Those of you who've been on my Instagram and my Facebook see that I've been keeping busy by sewing projects. It's helped. But when I lay down and go to bed, I ultimately end up crying. At least this last week has been horrible for that. No, and I have a lot of people that offer to talk to me, but and I truly appreciate everybody who's reached out to me and sent me thoughts, prayers, messages, texts, calls. But you get to that little world where I'm trying to process it, and I'm not ready to talk about it. And I know a lot of my endo sisters will talk about that too. And it's the can't talk about it. And sometimes we just need time. I need time at least to kind of work through it in my head. And I'm learning that I can't always work through it, that I have to step away sometimes at work when I feel the frustration getting high. And it's very weird for me. I am not used to being this emotional to where I'm swaying and I can't focus on work. I'm a workaholic. I'm a hard worker. I'm usually pretty good about getting in the zone, but I will tell you this last week with a combination of the pain, the fatigue, and the emotional just swinging everywhere is super hard. And you get antisocial when you're like that because you are kind of afraid what you want to say to people. I had my company holiday party, and it was supposed to be Tuesday night. Monday, Tuesday were pretty bad for me. Tuesday, I knew it wasn't going to happen, and I really wanted to go to my company holiday party, but I was also starting to feel the pain, the onset coming on of my cycle, so I chose not to. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I stayed home and worked remotely, also dealing with problems on staying focused and trying to just stay on task. It was really hard for me, and the pain kicked up pretty badly to where Thursday I spent a lot of time just kind of in bed trying to look at the computer and focus. I fell asleep here on the couch in front of this computer, my personal computer and my work computer, trying to get things done. So I talked to my doctor about this depression. Not recently. This is back in November. I told her during my recovery I was struggling through depression, and I told her that I was starting the vlog series, and she loved it. She loved that I joined a support group online. She was glad that I was trying to find outlets to talk about it. She commended me for it and was really supportive that I was talking on the internet about endometriosis. She advised me to take a journal if I can, or one of the ways to do a journal is to start with something you're thankful for. Jot down the days I have pain, when I'm down, and kind of know what I'm doing, what caused it, if I stay in it, if I can get out of it. And I've been kind of keeping track of these, taking notes on my iPhone notepad. My doctor thought mostly maybe this could be stress. Like I said, a lot of things happening at once. Finally getting an answer to why I was in pain. Finally dealing with a lot of things that I hadn't really thought about before, on top of your normal everyday life problems that many of us have. So endometriosis adds that extra layer of complexity none of us really enjoy. My doctor also said that I had nerve hypersensitivity, that based on my last pelvic exams, that entire area is there. So I need to watch for pain if just touching that area or using the bathroom or anything causes pain, to note that. I haven't really felt that. She also said my sleeping patterns could be affected. Obviously it was affected after the surgery, and trying to get back in the swing of things, I need to know if I'm sleeping at all. And I'll tell you right now, my sleep schedule, I don't sleep. I've been super restless this last week, and it sucks. So I was able to talk to my doctor about depression and my feelings, and she definitely wants me to monitor it, and I will definitely tell you that this week sucked. As I've said, I really, really struggled with it this week. I didn't get suicidal, but I definitely hit depression pretty bad. Really emotional. A lot of frustration that I'm not used to on a simple task at work. Hidden emotions, as I've mentioned before. I felt like I was getting into fights over little trivial things or getting frustrated over things that I normally wouldn't get frustrated over, and it was hard to have these type of conversations with people I work with, people who don't really understand endometriosis. And I don't want to say, hi, disability or disabled, but let's be honest, endometriosis is a medical condition. And I am one woman who really does not like to say crutch or anything like that, but it's not a crutch. None of us want it. None of us enjoy it. None of us enjoy having to stay home, having to hide, having to watch ourselves and watch how many spoons we have for the day on top of whatever emotional craziness is going on in our head. It's not pleasant. It's not fun. And it's definitely something we would never want to just use as a crutch, or use to try to get out of something, or use to some sort of sick advantage, saying that we have this disadvantage. It is nothing like that. And people don't see it as an invisible illness. It's a stigma that comes with it. And to be honest about what I'm going through, it's that limitation, that mental frustration of knowing I have these limitations, or knowing that I have to be extra careful and sensitive around my period when I've never had to worry about this the last how many years of my life since I've had it. It's beyond frustrating for me. And I know it's frustrating for a lot of other people. So that was what my doctor said, combined with how my first cycle back was this Shark Week. Donned on a little makeup and tried to make myself feel a little better, because I seriously spent a lot of time crying. I probably should tell you guys some tips on how to make your makeup look more effective, like me right now, to make it look like I'm a little more wide-eyed, a little more awake, and I don't have as puffy eyes because I have been crying the last few nights. But I wanted to say super, super thank you for everyone who was watching this, for everyone who's sharing this. Again, I'm not a doctor. It's just my little handy-dandy nickname, but I would love to hear how everyone's doing. Sorry, this video is a little longer. I warned you that I was kind of all over the place in the beginning, but at least you guys got a break with Saya guest appearance. And thanks so much, guys. I hope everyone's doing well. Remember, yellow is the endometriosis awareness color. I'm definitely sad that I don't have more yellow in my wardrobe right now, so I've been trying to make that change happen. So almost 20 minutes on this video. Sorry, it's a little long. It's been a while though since I've been able to talk to you. I had a request about funny pickup lines. Tried to figure out how to fit it into the segment. It didn't work. I'll try to find a happier segment that I can add in some anecdotes in. But I did see that request. Alright, so everybody have a great day. If there's anything you guys want me to talk about, or any questions that I can help you with, let me know. Again, I can be reached on my Twitter, my Tumblr, my Instagram, and my Facebook. The Facebook page is facebook.com/drhikaru, one word, no dashes, .desu, D-E-S-U. Remember, I grew up in Japan. Alright, guys. Bye. Thanks again for listening to my the real eighth segment. Okay. Bye-bye.